What up, guys? No, don't mind what's happening in the background. I finally got the mod today. There's gonna be a video about her later on today or maybe tomorrow. I'm working on that one. But we have another update. Varium gave us the information about the other Nordic card champions. I don't know if there's gonna be more than this. We got two, Freya and Odin. And actually, these champions kind of seem interesting. I think they will both see some use in PvP. Now, they're not mythic champions, so I'm not really sure how that is really gonna play out, because mythics are so much better than everybody else. It's kind of hard to slot in the other people. But let's quickly talk a little bit. Let me move myself a little bit better here. I always screw that one up, and then people talk about it in comments that we can't even see the stats of the champion or whatever, and my bad. I mean, I screw that up all the time, but my bad. Anyway, so two of them, both of them are kind of support-oriented champions with offense mechanics. If I very shortly summarize them, I guess Freya is intended to be like the new Nakarada or something like that, and Odin is a very interesting one. I guess he's the new Madame Serris or Kaimar or something like that. He's like an offensive support champion with buff strip, but he actually offers some other stuff that I think will make him interesting, especially with the pinpoint set. But let's quickly see what Varium says about them, and then we can look at the other stuff. So, Freya Fateweaver. Her skill set is aimed at helping her allies in both PvE and PvP battles. I feel like both of these champions kind of seem PvP oriented actually. Freya has a strong AoE on her A1 with provoke debuff to control her enemies and a counterattack when enemies break through her shields on the allies. I think Drogul does that, one of the worst fusions that Raid has ever done. Freya Fateweaver's A2 is a mix of protective buffs to boost ally defense and sustain her team's vitality, with a shield, a unique one in this case because its value is proportional to her own defense, which is very normal. I don't know if that's that weird, because a lot of the champions do that. And the max HP of her allies. The A3 is a strong cleanse and block debuffs combo to save allies from debuffs and give them some extra turn meter boost. Freya's passive skill, while increasing her own defense by 5% each time an ally makes a critical hit, also prevents the death of the ally with the highest crit damage, heals them and grants them a turn to take their revenge. So that's what I meant by saying that she's kind of the new Nakarada. I think out of these two, the Odin seems actually the more interesting one. But so that's what Varium said about it. I always want to read what they say and then we will look at it ourselves. So, but kind of like we summarized there, A1 is AoE and does provoke and counterattacks when she loses her shield. Or anybody loses her shield. And then A2 gives everybody defense buff and a shield. And it's kind of okay, whatever. The one thing that she's clearly missing here is revive. I think if she had a revive on her A3, then we would be talking. Then the A3, the block debuffs and cleanse, little bit turn meter. This skill is a little bit underwhelming. The passive is really the only interesting one here for PvP. Well, it has two effects. That she gains defense, so she might do some damage with the A1 actually, considering that it's AoE and she's gonna get like those counterattacks and so on. But then it's gonna prevent your highest crit damage champion from dying. Now it has a cooldown, it's 5 turns cooldown. If it didn't have cooldown, then that would be super interesting. But it does, and you know, it doesn't like give them immunity or block damage or anything super interesting like that, though it does grant them like a turn instantly. So I think some people will use her. If I had her, I probably would definitely try to use her. I don't think she's gonna be like top classic arena or live arena contender, but if she really has like insane multipliers, maybe you could consider her as like a secondary nuker in your team. But I think she probably won't make the cut for the top teams. But let's get to the champion that we really want to talk about. Let's first read what Parium says. Odin Faefather. The one and only, Odin's gonna be the new boss of the new event dungeon, whom you're gonna need to defeat to get those previous rewards. While his main place to shine is in arena, you can find him useful in PvE content as well. Odin's gonna possess the power of the new debuff, Berserk, that increases the inflicted and received damage by 50%. By the way, this seems to be the least relevant thing about him for PvP, this new debuff, which might potentially help you defeat your enemies faster. Odin Faefather's skillset is designed to help him control the enemy team. The unique combination of effects on his A2 makes him the only champion in the game with AoE buff removal, decreased defense and stun. Now there's other champions that do parts of that, but not this entire thing. And I think that's gonna be interesting, specifically because we get the pinpoint set. Like, I already said it at the start, and I feel like Parium is again, you know, playing 4D chess and milking us, and they know that this is gonna be a new powerful combination that is gonna shift the meta, and everybody wants to get it. Odin Faefather's skillset is designed to help him control... Wait, did I read that? Odin might be a support champion, but his A3 allows him to effectively deal damage to the strongest of enemies, as the damage itself depends on the target's main parameter, and when the target is finally defeated, he resurrects a fallen ally. In Muts, Odin's spear Gungnir never missed a target, thus the strike with this kill can never be weak. Okay, interesting. I feel like I missed that when I was reading at his skills, but maybe it says it somewhere. The passive skill refers to the mythical ring Draupnir, which was in Odin's possession. According to the myth, every 9th night, this ring created its copies and granted the owner invincibility. In the game, every 9th turn, Odin receives block damage buff and spreads all of his buffs onto his allies. This is a very weird thing. I guess they added that passive for the player, but I don't think that's really ever gonna be relevant in PvP. But I think Odin is very likely gonna be meta, and let's talk about why. Not because of the passive, not because of the A1 Berserk, but 3 other reasons. A2, insanely good. Now you can buff strip them, get the decreased defense and stun. If you can get all of that, it's like instant win. And think about it this way. You could have your Odin in pinpoint and stone skin if you're slow, or maybe like a pinpoint and whatever speeds that you have, protection, supersonic, perception, whatever. But you could combine those with pinpoint, making sure that he doesn't get polymorphed, or at least reducing the number of polymorphs it takes to... like increasing the number of polymorphs it takes to actually polymorph him, because pinpoint is gonna... or the... whatever the stacks were called. I always conflate the name of the stack. Let me double check it. Okay, I can't. Whatever the stacks are called. Those stacks are gonna protect you from any debuffs, including polymorph from the blessing. And when you have pinpoint set with this, then that's pretty strong. And might take us back to the old days where everybody's using Madame Serris in offense and doing like 5 to 30 second battles and one-shotting the enemy team. You can definitely do that a lot more consistently with Odin, but that's not the only good thing about him. If it was just that, I think people would use him, but he does do a few other stuff that makes him super, like, actually interesting. The A3 is basically like a nuke skill for a support, that you're not gonna build obviously damage on him, you're gonna build like speed and accuracy and go for some item sets with utility, but this is basically gonna deal damage based on like if their attack scaling, it's enemy attack or defense, and if it's HP scaling champion, it's based on their HP, and it ignores 100% of the defense. Now we obviously don't know the multipliers, but I'm assuming that the skill is intended to actually kill targets, which makes it sound very strong, considering that's like a secondary thing, and the buff strip and decreased defense and stun is the most interesting part. And also if he kills an ally, you revive one random teammate, so he's even a pseudo reviver. I wouldn't really call him an actual reviver, but he's kind of a pseudo reviver, and this skill does seem very interesting. Of course, depending how much damage it actually does, but considering that it has 100% defense ignore, which is by the way very smart, because they know that you're gonna build him as a support, you don't want to get Helm Smasher or anything like that. So on some Nugars this would be too OP, but on him it kind of makes sense. And with 100% ignore, I think he is gonna be able to kill targets. And yeah, sounds good. Now the passive, block damage and buff spread every 9 turns, useless. I think that was literally added as a flavor text and some kind of mythology for Larium employees to, you know, feel that they design a champion well and they're smart and witty. No offense to them, but that's not really meant to be relevant in the game. But what? Can you see this aura? Let me zoom on it in case you missed it. That's a 40% speed aura. That's something completely new in the game, never seen before. Now it's only on Void champions, but you know what? Okay, I guess we have to cancel a fight now. Okay, never mind. We'll wait until this battle ends and then I'll show it to you. Again, it would be better if it was all champions, but if you really want to outspeed enemy, I mean, this aura is not bad at all, because some of the most relevant speed champions are gonna be Void, like, you know, Shuchen and Siphi and maybe something else. I guess even George it would benefit from this, but he wouldn't benefit from decreased defense, so I don't know why you would do it. But I think this aura might even make some really fast people consider using him in defense, maybe with Siphi or Shuchen. I don't know about that, it's totally a possibility, but I think the fastest players in the game, they might try to pair him with either Shuchen or Siphi, so that nobody can outspeed them, and then they're obviously gonna have like 2 mythics and not a full team of Voids. But I can kind of see like maybe this will get some use. Obviously Grixia and Galatir are not Void champions, but wait when we get the Void Mythicals. They will love this aura, I guess. But yeah, I think this champion might see some... He's definitely gonna see use, let's put it that way, but I think he might even become top tier in Classic Arena, which most of the kind of good champions that get used in Live Arena don't get used in Classic Arena, and it's only very specific few champions that do. But I think with his A2, well, his A2, A3 and passive, or the aura, I think those are very unique and make him kind of interesting. Now the main issue with the A2, and I'm not saying, not really issue, but what this competes right now, is that all of the GigaChat whale accounts in the game, if we talk about Classic Arena, not Live Arena, everybody is running Theok's offense right now, and he basically does the same thing, or not the same thing, but he does cheap immunity on your team, not for like 1 turn or 2 turns with pinpoint or debuffs, but for the entire time. And then in the same faction you do have Ramantu. Now Ramantu doesn't put down decreased defense, of course, but he does buff strip and block their skills, so it's kind of the same deal. So I think he's kind of gonna compete with like the Lizardman faction buff strip offense team comp is gonna be like competition to Odin. But I think Odin might be like a new way to do this, that maybe you put Odin in pinpoint and then you have whatever rest team you have that is not tied to any specific faction. Maybe you can do very fast offense battles with Odin. We don't really know yet where do you get these champions from. Obviously Odin is Void and Freya is not. I would definitely be more interested of Odin than her. I think it's, you know, they did do an event for Fatalis, and I guess the Rathalos event was kind of similar, that they had a bunch of thematic champions and they gave out those champions from different events, and Fatalis was just a guaranteed pull, and it's been a while since we had one which was Narhes. It is possible that Odin would be a guaranteed pull, and if it is, if you have voids to spare or you're okay spending some and getting it, I probably would get him. I can't guarantee that he's gonna be top meta right now, because, you know, it's better to see things in practice than speculating things from, you know, obscurity. But I think there's a very high chance that he's actually gonna be a meta champion and not just, you know, kind of usable one. That's pretty much all I got to say about this champion. Let's not make it any longer. Any questions or comments, put them down below. Hit me up if you think I missed something or you have better ideas. That's it. Have a nice day and see ya.